In a recent Rainmaker match, I got seriously blindsided by a game mechanic during an overtime push. Did we really have a good chance of winning the game? The odds weren't great, but we certainly would have had more of a chance if the 1 minute timer hadn't run out in 21 seconds. I tried seeing if the wiki could explain what happened, but what it said contradicted my experience, so I went to data miners to clear things up as well as update the wiki. Big thanks to Zerit D for looking into this, without whom I would know none of this and have nothing to share. So firstly, what happened? We're near the end of the game and we're behind, but just a second before time runs out, I'm able to pick up the Rainmaker, which triggers overtime. Overtime ends either if we take the lead, in which case we win, or if I'm splatted, either by the opponents or by the timer above my head running out, which causes me to blow up automatically. In theory, we have an extra minute to play once I pick this up, but like I said in the beginning of the video, this overtime only ends up lasting about 20 seconds. Why? The timer runs significantly faster under either of two conditions. One is that you enter a Rainmaker free zone, and one is that you trigger the "Don't Retreat" message on screen. Rainmaker free zones are sections of the map where the devs have decided to prevent the Rainmaker carrier from staying, because they lead to stalling tactics. All a team would need to do is get a lead, and then move to an area that's hard to push into, and they could just waste a minute of the enemy team's time all at once. Maybe more if they were able to pick it up again and hold their position. This is a smart game design choice, as evidenced by what happens on the few spots in some maps where they missed a spot that should have been a Rainmaker free zone. Ever wonder why Inkblot Rainmaker isn't played in tournaments? One of the reasons is that left tree is one of those spots. The other condition that makes the timer tick faster is the "Don't Retreat" state. This is what got me in the most trouble during this play. The old wiki entry about this condition read as follows: retreating with the Rainmaker to the player's side of the stage past the enemy team's lowest goal distance causes a "Don't Retreat" message to appear at the bottom of the screen, and the Rainmaker explosion timer to tick 3 times faster than normal until the player returns to the enemy team's lowest goal distance. This is clearly disproven by my clip. The opponents have pushed to 15 remaining. For reference, you're at around 40 remaining here and around 20 remaining here. This is what 15 looks like. I never get that far back on the map. So if it were based on the opposing team's score, nothing I do in this clip should trigger the "Don't Retreat" message. There's certainly some experimenting I could have done to develop a pretty good hypothesis for how it works, but I was only really going to know for sure by hearing from a data miner, so I put out some messages. Zerit D had this answer. For the first 5 seconds after you pick up the Rainmaker, you are immune to both "Don't Retreat" and Rainmaker free zones. The game bases retreating on how far along you move in the opposite direction on the objective line, that being the heads-up display element showing how close to the goal the Rainmaker is, not the abstraction of the game that I use to teach people strategy. So, on Hammerhead Rainmaker, for example, backing up to the enclosed area to the left doesn't cause the message to show up, since the heads-up display still places you at the center. Moving to the right, towards the check, does count as retreating. Now, if you're past your side of mid, the game will never consider you as retreating, even if you take the Rainmaker all the way from the goal back to mid. On your side, however, the game is fairly strict about the point where it considers you retreating, and it moves that point up with you as you move back towards mid. On Shipshape, you, that is me, Gem, went all the way back to mid and then tried to back up. However, the retreat line moved up with you, and hence the game attempted to punish you for retreating. Since Shipshape is a very short Rainmaker map, and I, that is Zerit D, assume the retreat line is purely based on the Rainmaker points distance without regard to how big that distance is in the actual map, it appeared to be extra weird in that scenario. So it's not actually bugged, but it's far from being clear and easy to understand. So what are the takeaways for Rainmaker players? Firstly, on Shipshape specifically, avoid dropping right at all. Because not only do you land in a Rainmaker free zone, you also put yourself in a position where getting out of the Rainmaker free zone moves your "Don't Retreat" line all the way up to mid. More generally though, when you're carrying the Rainmaker, if you're on your side of the map, it's important not to move forward when you're going to get forced back. Better to stay back until it's actually safe to move forward, because then you won't lock yourself into don't retreat mode. If you're opposing a Rainmaker push, and they're still on their own side of the map, it might be worth experimenting with trying to force the opponent into situations like this, where they have to back up after approaching you. Thanks again to Zerit D for looking into this. Link to their Twitter in the description.